Thank you, everyone, for joining us for tonight's episode of Dear Dr. Mao November. Our topic for this evening is the health benefits of gratitude. I think this is a very timely topic considering that we are now entering the Thanksgiving season. And of course, this is a topic dear to Dr. Mao's heart because he talks about it quite often with us and teaches us that through gratitude, we also learn the laws of longevity. So keeping that in mind, it's really important to appreciate that year-round, the key to living a healthier, happier life is cultivating gratitude. And this requires minimal effort. It doesn't cost any money, but the benefits are quite tremendous. When you start appreciating the little things in life, you will improve, you will improve your physical well-being as well as your emotional well-being. Gratitude and generosity of spirit are also contagious. One small gesture can be the trigger of so much more abundance in both your life as well as the lives of others. So tonight we want to get in the groove of gratitude, and I'm going to hand over to Dr. Mao so he can share with you what the habits are of profoundly grateful people. He's going to be talking about some of his top tips and how gratitude can actually float you through the seasons of life. So with that, I pass over to you, Dr. Mao, and I am as excited as everybody else to hear your guidance on living a much more appreciative lifestyle.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. Thanksgiving marks the kind of like the beginning of the end of the year. We start in November, and instead of waiting until the end of the year, the end of the month to celebrate Thanksgiving, we can begin to think about what it really means to give thanks. So the first thing we think about, of course, it's a holiday which is unique in America. I don't think there is actually a Thanksgiving holiday most other countries in the world. And our tradition, of course, arose from the pilgrims who were rescued really by the Native Americans, the Native Indians, who lived on this land that we live now today. And they took them in during harsh winters and fed them with wild birds of turkey and whatever else, herbs and grains and so forth, and helped them survive the winters. And so that the pilgrims, remember that generosity, that kindness, that largesse, and wanted to commemorate that by having a holiday of Thanksgiving. The holiday, the spirit of the holiday is wonderful. So, it's not just about the pilgrims. In some way, we need to think about our own lives, even when things are not going well, even when you're challenged, right? We have so much to be grateful for. And there's solid science now behind the benefits of gratitude. It's so interesting that we have now become a people that requires scientific validation for all the intuitive things that we know that are right, that are good for us. But now with validation of science and studies, we feel better about them. It's a funny thing, isn't it? I would say this single device right here, where we now have become so reliant on, it's robbing us of our own capacity, our own memory, for example. I used to memorize phone numbers. And I think at one point I could probably memorize 50 people's phone number. In other words, 50 phone numbers.
Wow.
Now I remember less than 10. That's so pathetic, right? Because again, I have not been exercising my brain. In addition to that, when my very first job was as a messenger boy. And so I drive around LA and I had memorized the Thomas Guide. Now, for those of you out there who are very young, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But this was a thick book that had all the maps of every neighborhood in LA. And it was fantastic. It was wonderful. And I committed all to memory because I was driving all over LA. I knew all the sort of shortcuts and the nooks and crannies of where road ended and this one began, and where the shortcuts were. So, but now I follow my GPS. I
Yes.
use this thing called Waze, which takes me through neighborhoods that are like, wait a minute, why am I going through this? And by the way, I've just arrived at a street where I can't get across
Mhm.
because it's like a river of traffic and there's no lights. So, it's one of these things where we have given up our own capabilities, our own power. And it's just the same thing about gratitude, right?
Mhm.
Is that the less we practice it, the more we take it for granted, whatever it is in our lives. And when things don't go well, then we kind of take notice and we complain about it.
Mhm.
But in reality, is that if we just pay attention and everything, every day, every moment, we have this opportunity to give thanks and to feel that gratitude within our hearts. And so, again, just to kind of, impress upon everybody who's out there that, you don't need to wait until Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, it's a wonderful holiday, but unfortunately, there's too much drama around family members and, travel stress and this and that. But it doesn't have to be that. Every day can be a Thanksgiving day. And so I challenge you to think about this for a moment, that celebrate every day as Thanksgiving and wake up every day with three things that you want to be thankful for. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's what matters is that you really feel it, that you feel appreciative, that you feel the gratitude in your heart. Okay. So now, of course, I do have to cover the obligatory studies on gratitude. Well,
Mhm.
we actually have to do that. But so, what are some of the benefits of gratitude when you feel this gratitude in your heart? Um, Gratitude is actually closely associated with compassion, right? So when you have compassion for another human being, um, you can be thanks. You can give thanks and feel gratitude towards them, even if you don't like them, even if they did something to you that was painful, you can still have compassion for them. Okay? So studies show that gratitude can help improve depression. So let's say if you're depressed, you wake up in the morning and you just feel overwhelmed, like, wow, I just want to stay in bed. I want to stay under my covers. I just don't want to face the world because it's too difficult. It's painful. I don't want to deal with it. Now, start instead of thinking about what overwhelms you, just think and focus on the three things that you're grateful for. The fact that you have a bed to sleep on, as opposed to you're out on the street like a homeless person. Hopefully, that'll give you a sense of gratitude. And maybe you have family in the house. And so think of that like, well, I give thanks to my family. And because there are people out there who don't have family, the orphans of the world, they have to grow up, with the idea that they were abandoned, they were not wanted. So there are there are people in your life that cares about you, that you can reach out to. And maybe a third thing is that maybe you have food in your refrigerator, and that you don't have to, sort of worry about going hungry when you wake up in the morning. So again, very basic things. I don't know what it is that you are grateful for, but certainly studies have shown that it can help ease depression. So, um, What else? So gratitude, believe it or not, studies show, may prevent you from overeating, which is so perfect for Thanksgiving because I don't know. Last Thanksgiving, I didn't overeat, and I have to admit, in the past, I have. Every Thanksgiving, I tell myself afterwards, I feel so full. I feel so uncomfortable. I feel so sick. I want to throw up. I will never do this again.
Mhm.
And then the next Thanksgiving comes along. I absolutely blow it again. And I repeat the same pattern over and over. I feel like an overstuffed turkey. I don't know how you feel, but it's a horrible sensation. So last year, I was successful. For one, some of you know, I became vegan. So, and now I've changed my vegan diet, the plant-based diet, to eating plant-based Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday and Sunday, I'll eat some fish and eggs.
Mhm.
Well, Thanksgiving falls on a Thursday. So it's still within my weekday vegan, right?
Mhm.
Well, I simply just did not eat any animal products, and I ate lots of vegetables and sweet potato and yams and cranberry sauce, whatever else, and I made some great Brussels sprouts. Uh, you know, I have a great recipe. Brussels sprouts, saute in balsamic vinegar with crushed walnuts, and it was just so delicious. What can I say? Um, um, so I actually walked home from Thanksgiving dinner not feeling full or overstuffed because I was very conscious and what I was eating. And what we did was we packed up the leftovers. Well, actually, we before we actually dug into it, we made several plates,
Mhm.
and then we kind of dug into it. We had very little leftover, right? And
Mhm.
then we took these plates and we took them to a senior center in Santa Monica. We also took them to our guardhouse and gave it to Fred, the guard who's, boy, he's been with this community for 20 years and he's always there on Thanksgiving night. And we just love Fred. And so we packed him with lots of food. I think he overate, but don't tell him that. Anyway, so but the reality was that we also did something different. I forced everybody before we dug into the food. I said, okay, guys, we need to sit around the table. And it sounds very corny. Let's hold our hands. And now I want to go around the room and I want to just ask each of you to just say what you're grateful for in this last year. You know, the three things. And it's like went around the room. And you know what? It was amazing because people took their time and they shared why they were grateful for certain things or certain opportunities or certain experience and so forth. And at times it brought tears to my eyes. I felt really good just hearing it, and I felt the openness of the heart with the whole group.
Mhm.
And I know my brother and my sister-in-law were kind of looking at me funny. They were going, "Oh my God, Mao is up to this again. He's making us go through these kind of um, these exercise." But you know what? I'm going to do it again this year because you know what? I think it made me eat less.
I
So
mean, that's like a superior
so
motive.
I'm just being selfish here, self-serving. Studies show that gratitude may actually stop you from overeating. So, wow. Because I was full in my heart, therefore I didn't need to fill my stomach.
Okay.
All right. What else is do? Gratitude can help you sleep better. Wow. Think about that. So let's say if you reversed it and did it at night before going to bed. So
Mhm.
you count your blessings instead of sheep.
Mhm.
Well, you can count sheep too, but count your blessings. And that's wonderful because if you can go to bed with that feeling, imagine you'll dream better. You'll have sweeter experiences in your dream life and you sleep sounder because again, you feel content, right? Because that's what it is. If you go to bed feeling resentment, if you go to bed feeling hurt, if you go to bed just, feeling deprived or whatever it is, then you're going to not sleep so well. You're going to turn and toss because it's going to bother you. Now, gratitude can also improve relationship. Wow, what a revelation. I mean, just to say thank you to people you care about. Hey, so I've been making a habit of just sitting down on a regular basis, whether it's an employee, whether it's my coworkers, another doctor, and a patient. You know, I'll just say, like, hey, I want you to know, like, I know that you appreciate what I do for you, but I want to also tell you how I appreciate you very much because I've learned this and this and this from you this last year working together with you. And when you share those stories with me about what you've gone through, it moved me deeply and it made me think about my own life and so forth and how important these things are. And so again, I'm giving thanks, just making a habit of doing it. It's just fantastic. And it does improve relationship because, magically people smile more and they are less cranky. And I know, my wife appears to be less cranky, I think, because I'm more grateful for her. And but I think she gets cranky mostly because of me, because I can make people cranky. All right, and gratitude can make you more patient. Wow, because here's what I do um, on a regular basis. Many of you know I travel a lot, and I'm usually taking these calls on an airplane or at the airport or just getting off the airplane. Um, and I even did one actually while in flight, which is kind of crazy. But today I'm home actually, so yay. But oftentimes when I get to the gate and the flight attendant is there and there's a line, and she's stressed. You can just tell, or he's stressed. They're just, because passengers are breathing down their neck. They're not getting the seat they want, or they're not getting on the plane. They're on standby. I mean, there's a lot of crankiness going on. And especially some airlines are instituting these bag requirements for carry-on. They literally measure these bags, and then they tell the passengers, like, no, we have to charge you. I mean, you have to check that in. And then you can feel the tension going, the blood pressure is going up. And so what I always do, I make a habit of coming to the counter, and the first thing I said is, wow, I see that you must be overwhelmed and stressed with all these people just breathing down your neck. Listen, I appreciate what you guys do every single day, and I just want to let you know how much I appreciate that. And then I asked them for my request, like, hey, can you like put me at the exit row, because I require a little more room for my legs, and usually I have to pay more for those seats. But I will tell you, 9 out of 10 times when you're nice to the gate agent, they give it to you and they smile. They go, oh, thank you for acknowledging what I'm going through right now, and just for that I'm going to upgrade you. So I've actually gotten a few upgrades just by doing that. Now, I don't do that because I'm trying to score a point. I just do that because it's now become a practice. I just go wherever I see when people are stressed in public, and I go up to them and I acknowledge them for what they're going through, and I acknowledge them for the stress that they're under. And I tell you, it's amazing that people smile and you can feel the tension just go away from them. And so, of course, it makes me more patient. So when my flights get canceled or delayed or whatever it might be, and everybody's up in arms, I just, you know, I don't get upset anymore. I'm much more patient than before. Maybe that comes with wisdom. That's quite possible that I am just a little wiser as I'm older now. So, these are just some of the simple kind of benefits that studies have revealed to us. Um, one other thing, which is, of course, gratitude can make your happiness last longer. Well, that seems logical and goes without saying that, that yes, you want to stretch out your joy and happiness and sense of contentment. Feel grateful. All right. So, as part of this session today, how much time do we have?
Half hour.
Oh, perfect. Maybe take the next 10 minutes and I'll just do a little gratitude meditation with everybody. What do you think of
Oh,
that?
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
do
that's
it.
good. All right.
Mhm.
All right. So now if you're driving, please, please, please do not close your eyes. All
Please
right.
don't.
uh, not recommended. If you're operating heavy machinery, please keep your eyes and your hands on the whatever instrument that you're grabbing onto. Okay. So, but you know what? You can do this really anywhere. But if you're able to kind of sit down, take a moment, because I feel like this could be very significant for you, right?
Okay.
Um, so it's a simple gratitude exercise. So let's go ahead and close our eyes if you're not driving and operating heavy machinery. And take a nice deep breath. Inhale. Feel the lungs and your abdomen expand. And now exhale and go and blow that air out through your mouth. And as you're doing so, blow out all the tension and the stress you feel in your muscles, in your body, from head to toe. And inhale once again. Inhale, inflate your chest and abdominal cavities, taking in that life-giving oxygen that revitalizes your cells. And now exhale. Continue to blow the stress, the negativity, the unpleasant thoughts, the negative emotions of sadness, anger, frustration, worry. Just let it all go. And exhale. At the end of the exhale, I want you to keep blowing because there's a little more air left. So you got to completely empty out before you can refill. And inhale once again. And what I want you to do is feel grateful for this oxygen, this air, which sustains us. Without this air, we would not be alive for more than 5 minutes. And so this air keeps all our cells alive and vitalized. Exhale. And in our exhaling process, we're expelling carbon dioxide and toxic gases from our body, which, if accumulated within our body, can poison us and also shorten our lifespan. So you want to exhale, and that's why you want to exhale all the way. So at the end of your exhale, make sure that you have deflated completely your lungs and your abdominal cavities. And now let's go into our universe. We'll begin with the cosmos. Look up in your mind's eye, okay? Look up into the skies, up into the heavens. And this universe, it's ever expanding. It's so large, it's unfathomable. But from this universe is where we come from. The existence, our life comes from this divine universe that gave birth to us. And so we give thanks to the divine universe or the higher power, whatever that you might have in your belief system. And now we look at the stars. There are billions of stars out there, and there are constellations. Within the Chinese and Taoist traditions, we, we hold certain stars in particular importance, and that is the North Star. The North Star is always, if you look to the northern part of the sky in the evening, you always see it in one place. And interestingly, if you ever seen an image, a time-lapse camera capturing the entire evening, you'll notice that the North Star stays in one place, and then all the other stars seems to circle around it. And the Chinese sages in ancient times have observed this phenomenon. And so they see that the North Star as the center of all the stars. And so it's kind of like all the stars paying homage to the North Star. And we ascribe special spiritual qualities to the North Star. In fact, we consider the North Star as the spiritual source of our existence. And this is why we meditate on the North Star and we connect the North Star to our third eye, our heavenly eye in our forehead. And then we look to the eastern sky in our mind's eye, and we see that there are 7 stars or constellations. And these 7 constellations, we consider this what we call the green dragon. And we look to the western sky, and we see another 7 constellations, and we call this the white tiger. And then we look to the southern skies, another 7 constellations, which we call this group the red bird, the red phoenix. And then we look to the northern skies, another 7 star constellations. We call this group the black turtles. So the Chinese, according to feng shui principles, pay homage to these various influences of the stars from the 4 directions. And because they represent the 5 elements. And so from each direction comes the elemental energies that nourish us and helps us become a complete human being. From the east, we have the wood energy. From the west, we have metal. From the south, we have fire. And from north, we have the water. And finally, in the center of it all, we have earth. These various energies we give thanks to because they animate us in our personality, in our organ system, and our seasons. And because of that, we're able to have transformations and change. And then we look to the sun, which represents the yang energy. This yang energy provides us with light. And this light is necessary for life. Without the sun, without the light, we would be in eternal darkness, and there probably would not be life. So we owe our sustenance to the sun. We look to the moon. The moon represents the yin energy, and this is the quiet and still energy, and which is necessary to restore. So in the darkness of the night is when our bodies recover and restore and revitalize. So in the morning, we can be ready to face the day with renewed vigor and vitality. And then we look to the other directions. And so the 4 directions we talked about, we also look to the directions in between each of the directions. So it's really 8 directions, because between north and east, there is northeast. And between south and east, there is southeast, and so forth. And the Chinese Taoists have given a symbol that represents the energy of each of these directions. And this is evolved from the Bagua of the trigrams, and it's very critical. and used in feng shui. And so, what are these symbols? They are heaven above and earth below, right? So, heaven and earth. And there are fire and water. And then there are mountain and lake. And there's the wind and thunder. And if we pay homage to all of these, the heaven above provides us with this pure yang energy, and the earth below provides us with this yin energy. And we humans are the composite of heaven and earth. The fire and water energy provides us with this counterbalancing activities and usefulness. From water, we derive our nourishment, and without water, we cannot live. Without fire, we cannot light up our nights, and we cannot cook our food. And fire is so useful because the invention of fire is, or the discovery really of fire, is what set humans apart from everything else, all the other organisms. And the mountains provide solid foundation as well as minerals that nourish us. From the lake, we are able to harvest the abundant life from which also we derive our sustenance. And we can use the water to irrigate our crops and sustain our lives. And then we have wind. The breeze, the gentle breeze, helps spread the seeds of life through to every corner of this earth, as well as this gentle wind in our cosmos allows this exchange of energy between all. And finally, the thunder, the sound of the thunder awakens life from hibernation. It's a new beginning. It's a time of spring, waking up from the hibernation of the winter. So we give thanks to all of this. We give thanks to the sand under our feet as we walk along the ocean. We give thanks to the abundant vegetation, the fruits and vegetables and grains that which sustains us. We give thanks to the animals if we choose to consume them, that they give up their life to help sustain us. We give thanks to our parents who were directly responsible for our existence. We give thanks to our friends and neighbors who are there for us in times of need and that we're able to be there for them. We give thanks to everything that we have ever been given and the experiences that we've had. We even give thanks, especially to the hardships, the difficulties, the challenges, the problems that we've had, because through it we became stronger. And so even in times of difficulty and hardship, we need to remember what we have that we can be grateful for, and even the difficult times in life, we can also give thanks to that and understand that difficult times give rise to better times. So finally, we give thanks to ourselves for taking care of ourselves, for really self-care is so important, because at the end of the day, no one is responsible for you but you. And if you don't take care of yourself, then you become burden to others. And so if we're able to be good and to be healthy towards ourselves, conduct ourselves every day in a healthy way, we will find that from that we have more to give. And the cycle of gratitude begins with giving, and from giving we receive, and we give again. And if we can all do that in the world, give joy, give peace, give laughter, give health, we will have a much better world. And I'm optimistic that through all of our actions of gratitude, that we can have a better world. So now take another deep breath. Inhale. And this breath inflating every part of your being, your body, your mind and spirit, infusing your body and every cell with gratitude and the joy that you feel from being grateful. And now exhale, and you may open your eyes now.
Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you. I hope everybody feels as good as I do. Oh, and we even had more people join us in the midst of it. That was wonderful, Dr. Mel. Thank you. We'll give everyone a moment to get settled in here.
So maybe now we can maybe have some Q&A, answer some questions.
Yes,
Comments?
absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so for the individuals that are on Zoom, at the bottom of your menu, if you are not a call-in individual, at the bottom of your menu, you have a chat box and a Q&A. You're welcome to write in either of those, and we will see the question that you have. If you are calling in, I don't have a way of tying you into this. So you will need to email your questions to marketing@infinity.com. And we will get back to you that way because we don't have an ability to tap you in through the phone.
Couldn't Leah do that if they're on Zoom?
No, this is people who called in over the phone.
Got it.
Actually, let me see.
Typically, they were able to do in the past.
But we were using another device. Let me see. The person who has a phone number, I think that starts with 133. Do you have a question? I might be able to unmute you through here. Hello, the individual that's 1336. I'm not going to continue.
Well, could you unmute her on?
I did.
Him?
I'm just waiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I think what happens is they all call in now through a central, it just registers as one number because it looks like I've got 4 different callers that called in through that. So yeah, I don't have a way of, it's one of the things of webinar.
Okay.
So yeah, Leah's agreeing that we can't hear them. Okay, and then for those individuals that are on Facebook, if you have a question, you are able to actually write your question in the chat box that's underneath this video. Leah is moderating. Leah is our Director of Operations, and she's moderating tonight. And she's able to see your comments and then pass them over to us. So if you do have a comment, please let us know. Oh, I do read a wonderful from Leading Edge. She has a beautiful comment that she is most grateful that she has a beautiful summer cottage for meditation among the trees. That sounds lovely.
That's very fortunate. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll visualize it, even if we don't have one.
Exactly. I actually do that. I visualize a space. I think we all have our own ideal magical space. And every morning when I wake up, I actually follow doing three things that I'm very grateful for because I feel like it's the perfect way to set my day. But I visualize, before I even do that, I visualize being in a clearing where I'm in the woods and there's a beautiful tree and I've got a bench there, and I go and I sit down on the bench, and I know that the lake is in the distance, and like that's my sanctuary space. And it's wonderful, regardless of what resonates for somebody else, to have both that visual space as well as drawing the intention in for what they're grateful for. It's fun to play with gratitude. I have a gratitude journal. I do all sorts of things with gratitude. It just fills you up on love.
Agreed.
Let's see if we have any other questions here. Oh, here's a question, Mel.
Okay.
How are gratitude and compassion the same or similar?
They're different, but you can say that they're kind of like two sides of the same coin. So, um, compassion is a state of being open to understand and acknowledge someone's sufferings, and through that compassion, that openness of your heart, then you also experience an ability to give thanks, right? Because when you express your gratitude, you have to open your heart and tell somebody. I mean, it's actually kind of vulnerable in some way, right? When
Mhm.
you want to tell someone, hey, thank you for doing that. Um, you're not only just sort of letting them know and acknowledging their act of kindness and whatever it might be, but also it's you opening your heart to receiving, right? And to be able to experience at that moment that heart connection. And so, in a way, compassion and gratitude are two sides of the same coin. You, when you practice compassion, you will have more capacity for gratitude. If you practice gratitude, you will have more compassion, and that goes hand in hand.
Okay. Another question that an individual has is, what is your thoughts on why compassion seems to be lessening these days?
Well, I'm not sure that if, when you say compassion is lessening, I suspect maybe you're not observing the act of compassion as much. Not that it's lessening, I believe. In my experience and my observation is that people are still compassionate, but there are maybe due to societal change and so forth, they find that they are having a harder time expressing that compassion.
Mhm.
And so it's more of, maybe cultural, societal, and other constraints. But you can express compassion in whatever way you can. First and foremost, have compassion for yourself. I find that most people have negative self-talk all day long, all night long too, you know.
Mhm.
And so if you can be compassionate towards yourself and don't be so hard on yourself, don't call yourself names, don't put yourself down, but rather have compassion and understanding and forgiveness. And when you can do that for yourself, you're more likely to do the same with others. You are much more compassionate and forgiving of others. And it's that life is full of these challenges. We find ourselves sometimes in, we're not perfect, and so I think we sometimes would like others to be compassionate towards ourselves. But I think we practice that towards ourselves and we practice it with other people, and you'll find that the response from people will be that they're also become much more compassionate towards you. And so, if the goal is to have a compassionate world, which I hope we are, then we need to practice that. So compassion forgiveness, and gratitude. These are all very much part of the same basket, if you will, of experiences and emotions that must open your heart in order for you to express and experience.
Mm-hmm. I entirely agree with you. There's an expression of stay in your own lane and be open to the other lanes. And I think that that ultimately comes down to when you're living life in your own lane, you don't mind what's going on around in the external world because you're doing what feels right to you in your heart. And for those that are in the other lanes, if you're open to letting them flow the way that they need to in their lanes, then there's no expectation of what's right or wrong in their world either. It's up to that individual to self-manage their world. And just that openness, it's the law of attraction. It magnetizes more of what resonates in a very easy pattern without expectation in any way whatsoever.
Agreed. Well said.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have time for one more question. Do we have any other questions out there? Perhaps from my Zoom participants? Oh, another question. How can we teach gratitude to children?
Well, children are actually naturally an embodiment of gratitude. They come into this
Mm-hmm.
world, and without the sustenance of breast milk, they don't make it. And without the loving care of moms and dads, mostly moms, they don't make it. And again, there's and so they naturally give their gratitude by just beingness.
Mm-hmm.
They're happy, they're sad, they're not, they're uncomfortable, whatever it may be. They're very spontaneous in their way of expressing gratitude. But it is something that I suggest that we do a better job in instill that in children, because what we're finding today is that there is, and this is common among talks among parents, is
Mm-hmm.
that children today, maybe more so than any other generation, appear to be very entitled,
Mm-hmm.
and so there is an observed lack of gratitude and compassion. Uh, Part of that is cultural, societal, because what's happened is that they're born in a very prosperous time,
Mm-hmm.
and so affluence. If you think about it, in the last 70 years, there's been an absence of major war, right? There's regional wars, but major war. And yet every century there is some major war that's going on a continent somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've experienced this incredible long peacetime. And so, kids growing up, they have everything they want. And so it's important that I think we need to help them understand that they need to earn and not expect and feel entitled that they have automatic privileges. And
Mm-hmm.
so we can set up a way by which they can earn what it is that they want, instead of just expecting what they want. And so that gratitude need to be emphasized, that when they do receive what they earn, they feel good about it and they give thanks to that opportunity to have earned that. Whereas if they're just given outright, then that is not a practice that they can experience in a sense of gratitude, you see, because you were given something without really having worked for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no effort behind it. Then you don't treasure it, you don't value it, and there's no gratitude. And that's only in the material fashion. But what about emotional gratitude and other kind of for what people do for you, for just simply existing, being alive, the opportunities that kids have. So what I do with my family, and you might want to think about doing this, is that once a week we do sit down and we actually go around, we talk about, what they're grateful for, and to give thanks. And so once a week we do that, and we also want to encourage them to act out their gratitude. So if you feel grateful for something, how would you express your gratefulness, right? And so if in fact they had this amazing opportunity that, and learn knowledge from this particular teacher at school, and they really are excited about the topic, and they earned an A in there, they totally deserve that A because they worked hard at it. But at the end of the year, we would ask them, how would you thank your teacher for this year-long or semester-long effort to impart his or her knowledge to you? Because coming from a Chinese culture, we value teachers. We consider teachers as important as our parents, and because they selflessly gave us their wisdom and their learning, which is valuable. And so what would you do, right? And so many times, our kids would write notes for their teachers, or they would bring them a basket of fruits, or they, share with them their favorite treat, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
And always a note, just expressing their gratefulness, receiving the teaching and the wisdom from their teacher. And so there are many, ways in which we can give thanks, and we can encourage kids to do the same, right? So if someone did a kind act to them, ask them, what would you do in return, right? A friend, for example, let's say, came by and dropped off chicken soup for you because they know that you're sick. How do you express your gratefulness, gratitude? Maybe call them up and say, hey, I want to just tell you how much that meant to me. That's so amazing. I feel so honored, and I'm really appreciative of that. A simple call. It could be the next time that they're not feeling well, that you can go and do something in return. But there's many different ways. It could be small, it could be big, whatever is comfortable for you, and whatever is meaningful, that you can get the message across. But ultimately, if we can practice more gratitude, both within ourselves as well as in our behavior, our actions in the world, we will definitely have a much, much more peaceful and cooperative and loving world.
I love those ideas. Do we have time for one more question, Dr.
Sure.
Mel? Okay, last question of the evening. How can we break through with an entitled person who is a coworker?
It's interesting, isn't it? So we're just talking about entitlement in kids. And at work, someone who expects and demands and gets. And if they don't get, they throw a tantrum.
Mhm.
And part of that, unfortunately, perhaps is their upbringing, because I don't think naturally people become entitled unless they're indulged, unless they're trained to be entitled.
Mhm.
Because, if you don't get what you want all the time, it's hard for you to be entitled if you know that you have to earn everything. So you feel good about, that which you use your effort to obtain. So in this case, you're not the parent. You're not responsible to restructure them and discipline them. But what you can do is, sort of, what I would suggest is, first and foremost, ask yourself, uh, do you react to them adversely and negatively because of you perceive them as entitled? And if that's the case, then you already have a bias. And the bias can actually cause you to react and act towards them in a way that may perpetuate this entitlement. Um, so remove your bias first and foremost, and treat them just like another human being. And what you need to do is you need to practice your gratitude. So every time that person does something, kind, gentle, or say something nice or whatever it might be, then, let them know how much, you appreciate that. And also the role in the company and their job in relationship to yours. And let them know how much you appreciate that when they turn in stuff on time, it really helps your job. And I really believe in overcoming entitlement with with gratitude and act of kindness,
Mhm.
because over time, um, you know if you the interesting part of it is that humans tend to mimic behavior of those around them. And so if everybody around are entitled, then soon enough, if you're not conscious, you will actually start to behave in the same way. And so by taking a stand and saying, okay, I am going to act in a grateful, compassionate manner. And no matter how much this person challenges me, I'm going to stay the course. And
Mhm.
over time, little by little, you begin to see your behavior rubbing off on your coworker and those around you. And as they become less entitled and more grateful and more compassionate, it'll spread through the office. So I would start just by practicing and by verbalizing and by just conveying, how much you appreciate that they are doing their job and they're doing it, doing well, and that how that impacts your job in a very positive way. And whatever else you can tell them that you appreciate about them, because I believe that they're not all entitled and imperfect, that they have qualities and traits that you appreciate and that you need to emphasize those. And so the more you can reinforce positive behavior. So when they do something nice, you again acknowledge and you express your gratefulness.
Thank you. That's wonderful advice. All right. I would say that we are at the top of the hour, and I think we've taken all of the questions. I didn't see any other questions coming in. But I certainly hope that everybody enjoyed tonight, enjoyed the wisdom that was shared with you by Dr. Mao. And what a nice surprise treat that we got a meditation tonight as well. Thank you for that, Dr. Mao. Our next talk in the series will be in, let's see, the 28th of November. It's going to be the healing hour. We do have a telestudy. For those of you that aren't aware, it is a meditation telestudy with Dr. Dow. And we send out a reminder about that. And that takes place mid-November. But the next video televised event will be on the 28th of November, and it's a healing hour. And I feel like the whole month is going so fast, actually.
Wait. But he's doing also a women's health
Oh, we did it.
event.
We did it
Oh,
last week.
oh, you did already.
Yeah, he kicked
Oh,
off.
for November. For November. Oh, okay.
November, he kicked it off.
Ah,
So we did
okay.
a wonderful chat. We did a chat all about fertility and the myths of fertility. So if you missed that, that'll be available on YouTube. You can watch a replay of it, but it is available right now if you want to go back and watch that. It's available on the Tao of Wellness Facebook channel. So you can go and watch the replay now on there, and then it will also be posted to our YouTube channel, and we'll send out a reminder at the end of the month of that. So yes, he took the first slot of the month this month since I'm going out of town. So you get the second.
Got it.
Take a
Okay.
break for a little bit, and then we're back
Mm-hmm.
with the healing hour at the end of the month. So please stay tuned for notifications. We'll make sure that you know through email the updates, as well as through social media reminders. And in the meantime, again, thank you so much, Dr. Mao. If you'd like to leave us with any last point of wisdom, and then we will close out the evening.
Well, so tonight, before going to bed, try the gratitude meditation that we did and
Mm-hmm.
the exercise. Just keep a journal, write down 3 things you're grateful for. And tomorrow morning, do the same thing. and observe. If you did this over a week until Thanksgiving, see what changes you observe in your life, inside you, and I'd like you to just keep track of what benefit you have derived from that. So it's it's one thing to talk about gratitude. It's another thing to practice it. So I
Yes.
hope that we can all continue to be grateful for all that we have, and we accept life in whatever form that comes our way, even when it's tough, because we know that things will get better, and that even tough things are there for a purpose. They're making us stronger and wiser and better. So, all right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to all of those that joined us this evening. Enjoy a beautiful rest of the month and enjoy an absolutely beautiful Thanksgiving as well. So take care. We'll see you later in the month. Bye. Thank you, Dr. Mel. Bye.
Goodbye.